Hey everybody, it's Minius! In April of last year, somebody leaked a BioWare survey containing tons of information about the next Mass Effect. 15 months later, it's still by far the best source of information we have about Mass Effect Andromeda. I quote it all the time. So I figured it was a good idea to read the leak in its entirety, take an updated look at what each section might mean, and see what bits of new information match up with this original leak. First of all, I think this leak is absolutely legit. A document similar to this one was leaked for Dragon Age Inquisition, and that turned out to be legit. The largest nugget from the original leak about the game taking place in Andromeda was confirmed just 2 months later. It's a phenomenal preview, and hopefully I can bring the information to you in an interesting form. Basically, the person who leaked this document, who has since disappeared, was asked their satisfaction given each of the descriptions. It starts off with a section entitled, "The Next Mass Effect Context," which says, "The next Mass Effect game takes place in the Helios Cluster, a cluster of hundreds of solar systems in the Andromeda galaxy, far removed by time and space from Commander Shepard's heroic acts and the final events of the Mass Effect trilogy." Already, this first sentence is packed. Obviously, we know now that the game is going to take place in the Andromeda galaxy, but it's probably just as interesting that the game is set to take place in a single cluster of stars. In the Milky Way, clusters of stars were connected by mass relays, and you could only travel to a couple of systems in each cluster. This is different. It appears then that this new game doesn't have mass relays, or you'd be able to jump all over the Andromeda galaxy. And if there are no mass relays, then there probably aren't Reapers.
How do you like that, you sons of bitches?
A recent piece of information that was spotted related to the fictional Helios cluster was relayed to me by Oleg, though I think Bensei spotted it first, is that the ship we get in the most recent trailer appears to be named Hyperion 1. In Greek mythology, Helios, which is also spelled with an O instead of a U as Helios, is a sun god, and he's the child of the Titan Hyperion. There are other interpretations of what the ship name Hyperion refers to related to Helios, but this is the one that I think is most likely, or at the very least the one I like best. Finally, this game takes place far removed by time and space from the original trilogy. Obviously, Andromeda is 2.5 million light years away, which is a lot. And developers have recently stated that the game takes place hundreds of years after Mass Effect 3. I think that time gap is related to how long it takes to get from the Milky Way to Andromeda. In the most recent trailer, the character, confirmed as the protagonist, wakes up, implying that she had been in some kind of stasis, which supports the idea of a very long trip. Anyway, back to the text. You are a Pathfinder, a combat-trained but untested explorer leading an expedition into the Helios cluster to establish a new home for humanity. As you explore this sprawling series of solar systems, over 4 times the size of Mass Effect 3, collecting resources and building colonies, you will encounter the savagery of untamed lands in the form of cutthroat outlaws and warring alien races. It's difficult to tell exactly what 4 times the size of Mass Effect means. It's here in the leak, but developers have also said something similar. Now that could mean there are 4 times the numbers of solar systems to go to, or it could mean that the explorable area is totaled 4 times larger. Continuing. To survive and colonize the wild reaches of space, you will need to grow your arsenal, your ship, your crew, and make strategic and often uneasy alliances to fight against increasingly menacing foes. I wonder if you'll have to choose an alliance with one of these 2 warring alien races the last sentence talked about. It's very possible that you'll be forced to make peace with somebody in order to simply survive, which could make for a very interesting decision. And I'm pretty sure that decision is going to be more gray than we've gotten in the previous Mass Effect games, which is something the developers have also talked about. Along the way, you will encounter the remains of a once powerful and mysterious alien race, the Remnant, whose forgotten technology holds the key to gaining power in this region of the galaxy. As you uncover who the Remnant were, and the mysteries their ruins contain, you are drawn into a violent race to find the source of their forgotten technology that will determine the fate of humanity. The last couple sections of this first section probably give us the best look at what the plot might be like. It's not difficult to imagine that your arrival in Andromeda isn't looked upon fondly by the natives. Some of them probably want you gone, and might even be justified in that thought. If there's some hidden technology that would allow them to wipe you out, you better get to it first, or you and your expedition are toast. As for the Remnant, they sound a little bit like the Protheans. Mysterious and immensely powerful. We may even have looks at some Remnant tech, first by a couple of screenshots from 2014's N7 Day. Also, these things bursting out of the ground in the most recent trailer and in the announced trailer could be Remnant tech. We get more on the Remnant later, so I'll continue on to the next section. Collect resources to fuel your growth, which says, scour solar systems and planets within the Helios cluster to find valuable resources and blueprints of long-forgotten alien technology that will allow you to craft better equipment and weapons, such as improving your leg armor to allow you to jetpack jump, or upgrading your cryo beam laser cannon to target enemies, or do area damage around you to clear out close threats. We've seen the jump pack in the announced trailer and in the gameplay leak. This cryo beam laser cannon, though, is something that we haven't seen or heard of since this original leak, and it might mean that heavy weapons will be making a return to Mass Effect, although the cryo beam could be just a regular gun in your arsenal. As you build your arsenal and resource infrastructure, you will be able to explore deeper into the increasingly dangerous and resource-rich solar systems of the Helios cluster. The developers have said they're doubling down on exploration in this new game, which will only work if there are reasons to explore. And from this, it sounds like there will be. And it sounds like you can't move forward into new regions of the cluster without solidifying your hold on the region you're in. Sounds a little bit like the power mechanic from Dragon Age Inquisition, though maybe it'll work a bit different. The next section, A Capable Crew, says, throughout the story, you will recruit 7 distinct crew members to fight by your side. Each crew member has a unique personality and specific abilities that open up strategic options as you choose which 2 of them to bring into each mission. For example, Cora has the ability to deploy a biotic shield that protects everyone in the bubble while still allowing you and your squad to fire out of it. Your crew will grow alongside you as you explore the Helios cluster, and you can choose how to upgrade your crew's weapons, gear, and abilities to increase their individual combat effectiveness. Create the perfect squad to react to any situation and support your preferred gameplay style. Now this sounds very much in line with the other Mass Effect games. 7 squad mates, you can take 2 of them with you on missions, and each character has a different personality. Cora's biotic shield ability sounds a bit like the ability of the Asari Justicar in Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, which I've talked about before, although that ability might be tweaked a bit. If you want more information on Cora and Drac from this next section, take a look at my video titled Confirmed Aliens and Possible Squad Mates in Mass Effect Andromeda. On to the next section, Your Crew, Your Story. Your crew members aren't merely hired guns, they are part of the living universe in the Helios cluster that develops in response to your actions and choices. Increase each crew member's loyalty by pursuing missions that are important to that specific character. This sounds very similar to the loyalty missions in Mass Effect 2, or maybe a little bit like the approval rating in Dragon Age Origins. For example, when a Krogan colony ship has been stolen by one of the outlaw factions, leaving the colonists stranded without resources to survive, your Krogan squad mate, Drac, is determined to strike out against them. If you take the mission and help him track down the outlaw's hideout to return the ship to its rightful owners, Drac's loyalty towards you and your squad will increase, and Drac will unlock a brand new skill tree. Now that's right out of Mass Effect 2. Explore each individual's backstory and develop your relationship with them through conversations and unique missions. True to Mass Effect, what you choose to say will directly affect your crew's loyalty and relationship with you, and will open up different conversations and narrative opportunities at the end of the game depending on how you approach each encounter. From this, it's possible that your protagonist's relationship with each character or squad mate will be a little more complex than it's been in the previous Mass Effect games. It also appears that the success of your final mission might be tied to the loyalty of your crew, which is also straight out of Mass Effect 2. Deployed Strike Team Missions. The Helios cluster is thousands of light years across, and you can't be everywhere at once. As you develop more colonies, resource bases, and settlements, you have to be able to keep them safe. The settlements sound real interesting, and we'll get a bit more on them later. Spend resources to recruit mercenaries and develop an AI-controlled strike team that you can deploy to take on randomly generated, time-sensitive missions. Strike team missions take many forms, including settlement defense and remnant artifact recovery, which will take real time to complete. Send your strike team out on a mission while you continue playing the main game, and they will return 20 to 30 minutes later, having gained rewards such as XP, currency, and equipment based on the success of their mission. Spend money and resources to train your strike team and acquire better gear for them, which will increase their success rate and allow them to take on more difficult missions for greater rewards. This sounds like Dragon Age Inquisition's War Table, and maybe a bit like Metal Gear Solid 5's combat deployment missions. I'd love to show you footage from that game for a comparison, but I don't want Konami to send me on vacation.
That's not the service we provide.
There is one big difference, which is detailed in the next section, titled Active Strike Team Missions, which says, when you encounter a strike team mission in the single-player mode, you can leave your strike team at their base and decide to tackle the mission yourself with your multiplayer roster of characters. You also have the option of tackling the mission by yourself, or recruiting up to 3 friends to play with you. The more friends you bring, the greater the challenge and the greater the reward. These missions will play out using the next Mass Effect multiplayer's HORDE mode, more details on this later. These missions will include a variety of thematically appropriate objectives, like defending a settlement against Ket attacks, or recovering a remnant artifact off of a planet before an outlaw gang gets there first. By taking an active role in strike team missions, you can earn special single-player rewards in addition to the usual multiplayer-specific characters, weapons, weapon mods, and pieces of equipment, which can be customized between missions. Additionally, players who join another person's strike team mission will receive bonus in-game currency and multiplayer XP for helping others with their missions. I talk a lot about this section and the next section in my video, Mass Effect Andromeda Multiplayer is Coming. There's a link to that in the description box. Multiplayer Horde Mode. The next Mass Effect's Horde multiplayer pits you and up to 3 of your friends against waves of enemy troops on various battlefields throughout the galaxy. Players fight together to survive increasingly difficult enemy attacks and accomplish objectives like disabling a bomb near a colony base or assassinating a target. Progress through multiplayer missions to gain XP and earn new multiplayer-specific weapons, characters, weapon mods, and pieces of equipment, which can be customized between matches. Multiplayer play will also earn you Apex funds, in-game currency, which can be used to purchase items and gear in the single-player game. Establish settlements, which is the section I find very intriguing. Search solar systems for rare habitable planets to establish a settlement that can serve as a base for humankind's new home in the Helios cluster. As you build permanent settlements, you will make strategic choices on where to focus your new base's resources. For example, recon settlements will clear fog of war from the space map and give the player more strike team missions to choose from, while mining settlements will periodically supplement the player's supply of crafting materials. The bit on crafting materials sounds interesting, but we really don't get a whole lot on crafting in this leak, so there's not much to speculate off of. But as far as the settlements are concerned, if I had to guess, I think these settlements will provide you with relatively small bonuses and probably not much more. But it does look like the addition of settlements will give you, at the very least, a feeling of control over your surroundings that you never got with Shepard, which is one of the reasons that I'm so excited for this edition of Mass Effect. Dialogue. Building upon the rich history of strategic dialogue that has defined the Mass Effect series, you can make meaningful choices in every conversation you have with characters that impact the way your game evolves. The next Mass Effect adds deeper control over your conversations through a greater ability to interrupt and change the course of the conversation as it is happening. During certain conversations, you will be able to take action-based choices, such as the option to pull out your gun and force someone to open a door instead of convincing them to do it through conversational guile. Action-based choices give you more options for how you approach dialogue with characters in the game and can lead to more extreme outcomes on the story as it evolves around the decisions you make when interacting with a huge cast of NPC characters. Now, it's tough to tell exactly how different this will be than the previous Mass Effect games. It does sound very similar to what we've seen before, but I guess we'll have to see something in action to tell for sure. Seamlessly travel through the next Mass Effect universe. As you pilot your spaceship, Tempest, across the hundreds of solar systems that are seamlessly connected in the next Mass Effect, you will encounter new planets filled with valuable resources, intelligent life, conflict, and alien technology that all give you opportunities to increase the power of your character, your ship, and your team so that you can build them into a force that perfectly suits your gameplay style. The ability to pilot your ship, the Tempest, which we've now seen with the latest trailer, is something that was brought up in an earlier leak, and I'm still not sure how this is going to work. This brings me back to the scene from the announced trailer where the trailer character looks at a star chart, points at the star he wants to go to, and then whatever FTL drive they're using kicks in. Piloting your ship might work similar to this. Perhaps you just aim in the direction you want to travel, with the stars or planets highlighted by some kind of user interface, and then activate faster than light travel. That might be making too much out of one small scene from a trailer, but the travel distances are so large that I'm having a difficult time imagining how else this would work. Whatever this new system is though, it does appear that the galaxy map will be replaced.
I wish I had more information for you.
Transitions between activities like flying your Tempest across a solar system to land on a mineral-rich planet, then jumping into your MAKO to explore the surface of the planet, all happen smoothly without loading screens. We'll get more on the MAKO in a bit, but the developers have mentioned the lack of loading screens many times as they've talked about this new game, and I'm curious to see that in action. Customize and share your experience. Discover new things in the Andromeda galaxy, like alien artifacts and natural wonders that serve as trophies and decorations that you can use to modify the look of your character, Tempest, and MAKO. Awesome. Customize the way your squad and your character look with clothes and aesthetic modifications that you unlock throughout the game. Sounds familiar? Photos you take from the far reaches of the galaxy can be used to decorate your starship or sold to certain characters. Photos? Okay, why not? I do like customization options, and these options do sound pretty extensive. Next section though, Remnant Vault Raids. Find and activate Remnant monoliths to unlock Remnant vaults. Explore abandoned Remnant ruins to find and locate a powerful artifact. But once you remove it, you will trigger the vault defenses that will arm traps, activate defense robots, and even change the architecture of the vault itself to stop you from escaping. Fight your way out of the vault and you will be rewarded with valuable loot, including powerful gear, crafting resources, and star keys that can be used to unlock massive orbital facilities in space that grant permanent stat bonuses. This is something I'd love to see in practice. It reminds me a little bit of caves or dungeons in Elder Scrolls games, or maybe instances in MMOs, but there's a little bit more. Optional elite Remnant Vault raids are scattered throughout the Helios cluster, located in special orbital facilities that are unlocked by star keys. Similar to the standard Remnant vaults, you enter them to retrieve a special artifact, which will trigger the vault's defenses that arm traps, activate defense robots, and change the architecture of the vault itself to stop you from escaping. However, elite vaults ratchet up the difficulty of the encounter with increasingly powerful defense robots and traps, as well as roaming outlaws and deadly Ket patrols that are also in search of the elite artifacts. Elite Remnant vaults will test the limits of your combat and puzzle-solving acumen, but with greater difficulty comes greater rewards. Gain rare loot, narrative acclaim, and huge rewards for completing these daunting challenges. Puzzle solving! That's new for Mass Effect. Narrative acclaim for completing these is somewhat intriguing. I guess that could mean conversational options, or maybe vendors will sell you a wider variety of stock or just reduce their prices. These elite Remnant vaults sound like they're definitely worth doing. Ket outposts. As you explore planets throughout the Helios cluster, you will encounter Ket outposts. These outposts are optional combat experiences where you enter the outpost and fight off waves of enemies. Destroy Ket outposts to earn XP, rewards, and thwart their growing power in the region. Your allies will reward you with praise and increase narrative options as you fight to remove the Ket presence from the region. These Ket outposts sound pretty much like basic combat experiences, but the existence of the Ket faction is much more interesting. I've said in the past that I think these guys from the announced trailer are Ket. At least they appear to be fighting humans around alien technology that could be Remnant, and the Ket are supposed to be going after Remnant artifacts. Since you take on these Ket outposts to remove them from the region, I wonder how their presence in each region affects the game. Do they reduce the effectiveness of your settlements? Can you not move on to the next region before clearing them out? This could add an interesting twist to progressing in Mass Effect Andromeda, but like a lot of stuff in this leak, we'll have to see how it works in practice. And finally, drive and upgrade your MAKO. Explore the surfaces of hundreds of planets in the Helios cluster in your versatile land vehicle, the MAKO. Hundreds of planets sounds very high to me, but we'll continue. Whether you are looking for a place to set up a colony, searching for a remnant vault, or attacking a Ket outpost, you will enjoy getting there in your MAKO. Equip and upgrade your MAKO in dozens of ways, like adding turbo boosters, upgrading your shield generator, or adding a hostile detector to your radar to create the ultimate planetary exploration vehicle. Finally, get your MAKO looking the way you want with a custom paint job. The MAKO was something official, I believe, before this leak even came out. It was definitely one of the first things the developers talked about. I've talked a bit about the MAKO before, and it seems like they're taking on its issues from the original Mass Effect. Certainly, if all the stuff from this leak is in the game, there are going to be reasons to bust out your MAKO and drive around. The developers have said it will handle better. Hopefully the planets will be designed for MAKO travel. I know that was the #1 complaint from you guys about the original MAKO. Driving slowly over hills just isn't that fun. But that's the entirety of the original big Reddit leak, all of which is wildly ambitious. I'm very curious to see if this can be pulled off. I wonder how much of this can even make it into the game. A game this massive certainly would require a lot of time to make, and I believe development on Mass Effect Andromeda started back in 2012. But in summary, I don't know how you can go over all of this stuff as a Mass Effect fan and not get really excited. Even if you're just an RPG or action RPG fan, this sounds amazing. In fact, this leak was the initial spark for this channel. It took me a while to get the channel running, but I'm glad I finally completely covered this leak in its entirety, and I'll continue to reference it until things are proven false or we get better information. Keep in mind, very little of this is officially confirmed. BioWare has been very tight-lipped about this game in general, and it's possible that this big leak had something to do with that. There is a ton here to go through though. So if you like this video, please give it a like. It really helps out the channel. Keep an eye on MiniSGC for more Mass Effect videos. But for now...
Humans talk too much.